Hey, what's up, guys? It's Hippopotamus here, and today I'm bringing you another build. This one is for solo DZ play. This is something that I really enjoy running when I'm on my own, and I'm in the DZ and I've got nobody to play with. I feel like I can still score a few kills, but we have to adjust our playstyle a little bit to accommodate for the fact that we're on our own. Okay, well, let's get into it. So starting with our specialization, we're using the sharpshooter. The reason why is because we're stacking headshot damage. So just to quickly start off with, we have synergizing weapons here. We have the marksman rifle and we also have the assault rifle. The other things to note really is the emergency cleanse. This will help us against bleed, poison and burn for 20 seconds, which is nice. This can help, especially if you're fighting against people that are using status effects builds. We also have breath control, which is 15% increased weapon stability. So that helps us with the sway of our scope, which is quite nice. We also have 15% extra headshot damage, which is really crucial for us. We also regenerate ammunition with round after round, which is really great. Unfortunately, with Sharpshooter Tactical Link, this will help if you are playing in a group, but generally I'm not playing in a group, so this doesn't count here. An extra armor gained in cover, my home is my castle, is also sort of useful. It may be the difference between you getting sort of out of a pinch alive if you're on cover and you sort of swoop round the corner as you're getting shot. It might keep you alive, so it's worth having. Okay, so let's go down and take a look at the build and discuss it. Then we'll go through the stat sheet and we'll go to the range and talk about how to use the build. So the main things to note with this build are my weapons. So the first on-hand weapon can be anything that you like. I've chosen the shield splinter here just because of its high accuracy, and I have actually gone fully stacked into headshot damage. So mine comes with assault rifle damage, health damage, and damage to armor. I would preferably like damage to targets out of cover here if I could get it, and the attachments are the EXP S3 hollow for 10% extra headshot damage, and the 556 muzzle slot is a large suppressor. The reason why I like that extra accuracy, you can see that I'm trying to get the accuracy a little bit better, but I'm fully stacked into headshots, so if I start face trading with another agent, I need to aim for the head. There is no other choice really, otherwise I'm probably going to lose. It's a nice use of the Perfect Optimist talent as well, giving us 4.5% for every 10% missing, so that's quite nice. My offhand weapon, secondary, is the Nemesis, and this is the main weapon that I'm going to be using because I'm going to be fighting at range. Mine comes with marksman rifle damage, headshot damage, and damage to armor. Now, you could have damage to targets out of cover here, but I actually feel like the damage to armor is actually better here now because sometimes I do actually shoot at targets that are in cover. Sometimes agents will duck down and they haven't seen where I am, and they're hiding in cover, and I'd rather have the 6% damage all around rather than the 10% when they're just out of cover and potentially moving. So damage to armor here is actually the better role for me, I believe, but you could have damage to targets out of cover if you want. And basically, it's got this talent electromagnetic accelerator. Shots fired deal 0 to 100% weapon damage based on how long the trigger is held. So it basically doubles the damage of the weapon, which is really nice. And this will one-shot pretty much anything. I'm going to say that even a 2.4, 2.5 million tank, if you hit them directly in the head with a fully charged shot, this will put them down. So for my pistol, I'm using a TDI card custom. This is probably no surprise. It's all stacked into headshot damage and has the talent Optimist. Just shoot your gun, get some damage. This is mainly for the skill tier, but there is a reason why I have this. Because it is a backup weapon should I be out of ammo. I do have a lot of headshot damage on this weapon, and it also helps with my skills. So I'll talk a little bit more about this in a moment because I'm using a synergizing piece of gear. Okay, so as we've just talked about pistols, the pistol damage from the Douglas and Hardin, basically sometimes I'm running around with my pistol in my hand using the pulse or using the decoy to up the skill level. So if I get caught in a pinch where an enemy turns up and I've got the pistol in my hand and I haven't got enough time to switch weapon, this helps. Now, the main other reason that I'm using the Punch Drunk is because of the 20% headshot damage roll. It's like me having two 10%, which is useful because I am using a Fox's Prayer, which we'll see later, which doesn't have a headshot roll on it. So it basically makes up for not having a headshot roll on one piece of my gear. I'm also rolled into armor regeneration. So this build will be, you'll take a pot shot, you might run away, and in that time you might be getting shot or taking damage. So a little bit of armor regeneration, because we're on the move a lot, will help us top off and not need to use medkits as long as we play smart. And then I'm using an in-slot mod of 9.9% pulse resistance. Now, yes, I did say 9.9% pulse resistance. There is a specific reason for this, and not using a 10%. Yes, I do have a 10%, but there is the reason. So the main reason for this is that at 9.9%, I'm 99.9% pulse resistance, which means that Heartbreaker doesn't work on me. I can't be pulsed through the wall. You can't see me through the pulse. But I also, because I've got the 0.1% not resistance, I get a notification when I get pulsed. Even though you can't see me, I still see the pulse notification. And that's really handy, because what it allows me to do is when a group has pulsed and they think that there's nobody around, it lulls them into a false sense of security that there might be nobody behind them, which then allows me to push up a little closer and catch them on the back foot if they've just pulsed. For the backpack, I'm using a piece of Jarl gear. The first piece gives me hazard protection. I have a core roll of 170,000 armor. I have some expertise into this. I showed it a little bit of love today. I also have the attributes of armor regeneration, headshot damage, and an in-slot mod of headshot damage. For the talent, I'm using Vigilance. This increases total weapon damage by 25%. Taking damage disables this buff for 4 seconds. So if we shoot before we get seen, before we get hit, we're going to deal 25% more weapon damage, which is amazing. That's exactly what we want for a sniper build. For my chest piece, this is the second piece of Jarl gear that I'm wearing, which gives me 10% weapon damage, which is great. A little bit of extra weapon damage always goes a plus. I've got this with an armor core roll of 170,000, a little bit of expertise again, armor regeneration, headshot damage, and a headshot damage in-slot mod. So I also have the talent Unbreakable. Now, this is up to you. You could use Efficient here. You could use Perfectly Scoped, I believe it is, to increase your damage. I just feel like Unbreakable gives me survivability, where sometimes I will get seen by enemies and I have to just turn and run. There's no way that I can fight 4, 3, even 2 players on my own, because I am playing at range, and my assault rifle is really only for an emergency if I get caught where I can't run away. So having Unbreakable allows me to get out of tight pinches where I'm getting chased, and I can just drop a decoy and slip round the corner and maybe break away. I do feel this has saved my life quite a lot, so I think this is probably the better choice out of the lot. For my glove, I've got one piece of Heraldry giving me marksman rifle damage at 10%. I have a core attribute of weapon damage, some expertise, attributes of armor regen, and 10% headshot damage, which should come at no surprise. Third and finally, for my third piece of Jarl gear, I have 40% pulse resistance. Now, this is very important. Again, this is how we get into the 99.9% pulse resistance. So 3-piece is crucial. So for the core attribute, I have armor, I have some expertise, armor regen, and headshot damage. For my last piece, I'm using the Fox's Prayer. Now, the main reason for this is just for the damage to targets out of cover. This helps when targets are out of cover. I'm not using the rifle. I did try to use a rifle for the longest time, and I just found that whenever I used a rifle, unfortunately, I would get caught and shot. So there was no point in me really using the rifle. It was too weak for PvP up close unless I was fully stacked into it. So I moved away and used an assault rifle. This is rolled with weapon damage, some expertise, damage to targets out of cover, which is exactly the reason we're taking it, and then armor regen. For my skills, I have a holographic distraction. Again, I can hold the pistol and that'll be at skill tier 1, as we see. I also have the scanner pulse, which what it allows me to do is it allows me to scan for enemies and check and see what's around me. I can hold the pistol again and get some extra effect duration, which is great. The in-slot mods with this would be best as radius and skill haste to make it come back faster. Again, in my holographic, I have health and duration. And I also have flashbang grenades equipped because sometimes I use those. Again, I will show you that in just a moment. So let's go into the range, have a look at the stat sheet. So we'll just quickly go through the stat sheet. Perfect Optimist. Again, here, this is my assault rifle. You can use whatever you choose. You may even want to use a weapon that has a flat line on it because we do have a pulse, but that's totally up to you. I just feel that this is perfect for me and the way that I play. We'll just quickly flick through the weapon damages. Vigilance and Unbreakable are our main gear talents. Our brand sets are as follows. We have 1.3 million armor, close to 1.36, so we're getting towards potentially 1.4 million with enough expertise, but that should come in time. The armor regen is a slow trickle, it's at 30,000. Again, this is just for basically keeping us topped off. Because we have a low amount of armor, this actually feels like a lot more than what it is. And it gives us the ability to take a shot. Should we take a little bit of damage, we can just run away, hide for a short time, and not have to use a medkit, which allows us to tap the medkits and use them more laterally. So if we're in a pinch, we can just tap those medkits and we can save them for when we really, really need them. Pulse resistance, again, is at 99.9. Again, there is a reason behind this, as I've said. The main reason is when I'm pulsed, I can't be seen, but I get a notification when the enemy pulse, which may mean that the person that I'm after may be on the back foot thinking that they've just pulsed and there's nobody around, which lulls them into a false sense of security. We also have 20% into every hazard, which is quite nice. It's going to help us a little bit with any kind of status effects, so that's good. Again, the decoy and the pulse. So the main things to talk about this build is we really are trying not to get seen. If you get seen, we have to drop and run. You may take some damage in this time. Again, if we keep moving and we move smart, we can get a little bit of a slow trickle. Again, it's nothing crazy, but what this will do for us is if we keep running away and moving away and go hide somewhere, we don't have to use our medkit. Plus, as we're running, if we're getting shot in the back, we can tap the medkit and get a quick free heal. Double right on the D-pad gives us that, and it's also going to assist that as well. So give us a little bit more. Again, if we take enough damage, we're also going to proc Unbreakable, which is great because that will really keep us alive. Okay, so the pulse, you need to be aware that it will alert enemies that you're in the area. So many players, the first thing they're going to do is go into the menu, go to social, and check by nearby and see if there's a player. They won't be able to pulse you back, so they won't be able to tell straight away where you are. But just be aware that when you pulse, two things: it will alert the enemy, and two is using the pistol, the TDI card, is going to make the effect duration last that little bit longer. So it's worth holding onto the pistol. Again, this is the reason for using the punch drunk, because if I'm holding my pistol, I've just tapped my pulse, somebody comes around the corner, I have that little bit of extra damage in my pistol to hit harder or finish an enemy off should I need to. Okay, so the other thing is we need to remember is that our decoy, although we are pulse resistant, our decoy is not. So if somebody pulses and you're sat right next to your decoy, it's going to give away your position. So when you throw your decoy, you need to make sure that you're throwing it well away from you, and you need to get well away from your decoy when you do throw it. A good thing to do before you reach a group of enemies that are maybe camping a door or they're holding an area, a good thing to do is throw your decoy right away from you, and then this will remove your nameplate. Sometimes, even though you haven't been pulsed, just because you stood out in the open, like so, like this, except with a scope, an enemy will see you, they'll spot you, and it's basically the enemy is going to come for you. So if you don't have a nameplate above your head, it's going to make you that little bit harder to spot, which is good. So that's something just to be aware of. The damage on the sniper rifle, I'll just quickly give a quick demonstration of that, what we're putting out. But like I said, this one-shots, I've one-shotted 2.3 million tanks. I'm pretty certain it could do a 2.5. But we're hitting just for over 10 million when we're fully charged. We need to ensure that we are fully charged, as I said, though. Okay, so 12 million on a crit. The final thing is, again, we have the shield splinter, and the reason why I'm using headshot is because this is the only way that I'm really going to get any kind of significant damage. Now, this will only really be used in close, so if the enemy does get close, I'm just going to use the shield splinter to protect myself. But as you can see, we're hitting reasonable numbers, and it does do a lot of damage. The only caveat to that is that we have to hit the head, which sometimes can be quite difficult to do. The other thing is just that we have flashbangs, and again, this is not something that everybody thinks about, but flashbanging enemies will completely blind them. They won't be able to see. This may help you get away when you need to run away. So one thing sometimes that I do is when I'm running away, I'll point a grenade at the surface of something so it falls down at my feet, and then keep running. So as the enemy approaches, they get caught in the blast and they're blinded for a short while. This gives me a time to drop a decoy and slip off down an alley, and this may result in me getting away. All right. Really hope that you enjoyed that one. Hopefully see you in the next one. Leave a comment and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, guys.